I know things you never see. You never see someone taking a shit while running at full speed.
Come on, kid, get rid of some of them turds in the shit box.
Welcome to the Bathroom Break Podcast with me, Rab himself. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Rab from the Bathroom Break Podcast. Just wanted to take a minute to thank you all for listening to the podcast. It's been a lot of fun to sit down with some really interesting people and shoot the shit, talk all that poop and stuff. But yeah, we want to try and make this thing better for you, so we're going to need to raise some funds. If you head over to greengate.bigcartel.com, there's a donation link there. If you feel so inclined to donate to the Bathroom Break Podcast, awesome. If not, sit back and listen. We're going to talk some crap.
All right, before we set this off, I'm going to bring the proper vibes in here. This is going to make Maggie rest and be calm. Maggie, be good. My dogs are crazy. Yeah. Go lay down, Maggie. I can hear you breathing from here. Maybe we will have to shut her.
No, I think it seems like she's good as long as she could see you.
I'm not used to doing this sitting down though. I usually walk around with it.
Yeah.
But we'll get some vibes here.
Here, you can hand it over, and we can.
You want to do it? Give it a little blow, yeah. Traded in the green smoke for the sage smoke.
For real, me too.
Yeah. Woo. Yeah. The energy connection right there.
Yeah.
There we go. We'll let this one burn here, and then I also have my other jump off here. My singing bowl with the helicopter too.
Yeah. Good vibes.
All right, well.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bathroom Break Podcast. My name's Rab himself, and I'm sitting here with the legendary skateboarder, CHADMUSKA. You're also an amazing artist and music producer and, a whole slew of things. But first and foremost, professional skateboarder that is, one of the all-time greats. And it's an honor to be sitting here with you.
Much love, my brother. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, man. I'm like in your art studio here. I mean, it's really your garage, but it's legitimately an art studio. It's incredible. I was mentioning to you earlier that I did go to one of your art shows before, and dude, I'm just blown away and inspired by you. Like, for real, on a real level. Like, it's just crazy that you have so many different art forms, and like I've always felt like skateboarding is an art form and a sport kind of together, and it's just rad to see like your take on that through all the years, but then also shifting into art and music and like all that cool stuff. So yeah,
I mean, for me, skateboarding is obviously the backbone of everything that I do, and has taught me the lessons in everything that I do, and the dedication that you have to put into something to learn, and completely skateboarding, I've always looked at it as art. Looked at my dogs as art.
Yeah. Hey.
They drive me crazy, man, these little guys, but they're my best, worst friends though.
Yeah, they're cute.
Yeah, pug love, pug nation. But yeah, so they're all connected, music and skateboarding. Like when you skate, I always grew up listening to hip hop and punk rock music and utilize that energy to put into myself to go, okay, like I'm gonna do this trick. Or when you bring all the crew together and the jump ramp and you have this music playing, and then art, I never understood that like the things that I was into were a form of art, whether it was like painting on my grip tape or doing graffiti with my friends. I was like, it was just something that we did, and it wasn't till later in life that I started to understand that was art itself too. And not coming from an academic background, I only later started to study art history and learn more about all the techniques and all that stuff. But yeah, they're all completely connected. Whatever it is you're doing, if you're coming up with an idea in your head and manifesting it into reality, then that's some sort of art form and a creation to it. And that applies to skateboarding or sculpture, photography, video, design, shoe design, clothing design, all those things. So I don't like to put a limitation or a label on myself because that, I think, puts a limit to what it is you can or can't do. And so I don't like to put any type of limitations on anything in life.
Dude, and that makes total sense, because I was thinking about that, like, how do I describe you? And it was like, well, I guess artist, I guess skateboarder, and all these things, but really it's just like this super creative being, and like, and I see it that way, and like, not trying to be like that, and you know, but I really am inspired by you, and like, you know, I'll see some of the photos you throw up on Instagram or things like that, or stuff that you're doing, and I'm like, damn, I'll look at that and be like, all right, I need to do something today. You know, like it'll just make me feel like that. And I was telling you a little earlier too, like the podcast you did with Jamie Thomas, that is what got me to get moving on doing this one.
That's
you
cool,
know?
man.
And it's rad. So thanks for inspiring me to do that stuff. You know, I mean,
here we are. Then.
Yeah. And it's crazy, because I'm sure like you have no idea, you know, when you're doing what you're doing, like the reach that it's going to have, and how it's going to affect other people. And then they're going to go, damn, like, you know, he either just landed that trick, or he just did that sculpture. He just did this. And now, like, I need to get on what I'm doing, you know, like, or I need to move towards what I'm working towards too. And like, I always look to stuff like that to get inspired myself. And, but you have no idea, like, you know, the reach that you have, you know, and that's pretty cool.
Well, I think like if anything you're doing, I mean, especially through social media being a relatively new tool for the world in general, you know, it's like to have that instant, it's obviously the best, worst thing as well too,
yes.
that happens.
Yeah.
But to like share whatever it is that you're going through within life, or whether it's positive or negative, or whether it's just a creation or a project you're working on, and to share it with the world because you're excited about it, and to see that it potentially could have a positive effect on other people in the world as well too. That's just like the icing on the cake for all of the things that like you're able to do through that medium. And it's crazy the reaction of things that, like you said, like you have no idea. It's like, okay, like, you know, whatever it is, you're trying to learn something, or you're getting over an injury, or like, you know, these different things that like you share your story as you're going through it, and then all of a sudden all these other people around the world are like, man, like I had this injury too, and I wasn't able to skate, and I seen you're doing this, and I'm gonna do it now too. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like you like,
hell yeah.
You don't. I had no idea that any of those things would be the outcome of like me going through something negative that I had to overcome, that could actually inspire other people to get through something as well too in their life.
Man, yeah, that is so rad. Like that, yeah, because I mean, it's not even that you could think about it as you're going through it. Like, because that just brought up a lot of good stuff. Because I mean, of course you've had a bunch of injuries through skateboarding.
Yeah.
And it's got to be tough, like, and get dark at points, like when you're hurt, you know, like and needing to get back on your board, or just wanting to be active and doing that, and like, so what kind of inspires you through that, like?
Yeah, well, I mean, through skateboarding, I've had nonstop injuries pretty much. Like, it's always been one after another after another. But then, like, the accumulation and age and everything, eventually had a really bad injury, which was my back.
Yeah.
And that, like, was, like, not only took me away from my skateboard, but kind of took me away from life a bit. And that was like the hard part, because I do have all these other interests. So if I tweaked my ankle skateboarding, I could go and, you know, edit videos or do photography or make music or all this stuff. But when I first injured my back, it was to the point where like my life just was like, you know, on hold.
Stopped.
Like even to sit there and work on a computer, I was like, oh, like I couldn't, you know, it was like I'd wake up every day and have to like lift myself out of bed and all that. And so that was a big, like, major thing in my life. Once that happened, I was like, whoa, like this is serious. And I had 2 different doctors tell me I had to get surgery, and I was scared to death to get the surgery because I had surgery on my knee before, and that was a whole kind of a bad experience for me. It came back, but it's still kind of like, it felt better before the surgery, to be honest with you, which was a weird thing. And so I'm like, if that's my knee and that's happening, then my back's a whole nother thing. But
yeah, because the back is, I feel like a back surgery is like, you just know it's scary. Like it's risky. Like my brother's an orthopedic surgeon, and like when it's like, he's like, don't operate on the back unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah. And you hear miracles from it. Like, I got the surgery and I'm back to normal. Yeah. Like it never happened.
But still, it's
scary. But then I heard a lot of other flip side of that story as well too. And so that just scared me. And that's kind of the conclusion I came to, was that if like, I'm only going to get the surgery if it's like a life and death situation and I can't move anymore, you know? And so one day I made up my mind that I said that, you know, I'm not going to allow this injury to stop me in life. And whatever it is, I'm going to work with what I have. There's people way worse off than I was that go about life, you know, people with, you know, that are paralyzed and they go about life all the time. And, you know, and I said, why am I feeling sorry for myself? I have so much positive things in my life. Why am I focused on this one negative aspect of my life? And that's when I like said, okay, I got my skateboard, left my car at home, and just walked down this hill and put my board down on the sidewalk and started rolling. And I was like, if all I can do is roll down the street, and then that's fine with me. I'll take it, you know? And I started to roll, and I started to like feel like, wow, this is like, I felt this energy like going through my whole body, and I was like, I felt alive again, you know, and that little spark started it, you know, and I was like, okay, like I can roll, and that's bringing me joy, so I'm going to keep rolling. And then from that day I started pushing, started awling some more, you know, and then slowly, I'm not back by any means where I once was as a skater, but that's fine for me, you know, like I don't feel like with skateboarding at this point, like, I don't feel like I have anything to prove to anybody or like, or to myself even for that matter. It's just about the joy that it does bring me to be able to roll and to be able to like bust a trick here and there as my body allows. And so with that mindset, it kind of changed my whole world. I was like, okay, yeah, I have good days, I have bad days. Some days I wake up and I'm like, I can't put my shoes on. I have to like slip my foot into my shoe and like wiggle my heel in. And I'm trying to get my sock, and I'm like, like, you know, like, so it's not like it's just cured instantly. I still have a situation, but I am aware of the situation, and I go, okay, when I have this bad time, I'm going to get through it. It's going to get better again, and I'll be able to, you know, be walking again, or hopefully rolling again. And it does, and it goes in waves, and it's kind of just like everything in life. It goes in cycles, and you know, some days you feel happy, some days you feel sad, and you know, and all that. So shut up. Shut the hell up, Maggie. Yeah, she'll probably just walk around. Don't be Picasso and pee.
Hey, doggy.
Yeah. So she's the star of the show. She's the boss. The boss, Maggie.
Hey, I get
She's gonna look at her. Nope, she just peed. Oh my gosh. Little bitch. You let you in here, and that's what you do? She's gonna pee on you.
She didn't have to mark her territory, that's all. She let me know.
So where were we here? So before we were so rudely interrupted by
before we took a bathroom break on the Bathroom Break podcast.
Bathroom break, Maggie. Thank you. Action.
Dude, no, we were talking about like just how you kind of got yourself back up and moving like after your back injury and just getting on the skateboard and rolling again. And like, I mean, just that in itself, I think is so rad, because like anybody could take that opportunity to sink into a depression and to like go into that negative place and like, poor me, why'd this happen to me, and that kind of stuff. And just the fact that you like shook that and were like, I got to get up and do this. I mean, that's inspiring as well. And I have, you know, I have had friends like a guy that I knew that he got into a car accident and you know, he was paralyzed as a result, but basically just kept drinking and doing drugs to like whatever. And like, it was just sad to watch that, because you're like, you could, even though it's horrible, and I've never been in that situation, and so I can't speak for the person or what they're going through, and I could never really imagine it. You still feel like it's one of two ways. Like there are people like, I mean, if you think about Christopher Reeves or somebody like that who has that, and then they just dedicate their life to like figuring this out for other people that are suffering through the same thing. Like that's amazing and that's inspirational. And And then it just gets sad when you watch your bud like just keep going into addiction
Yeah.
and that stuff because of, whatever. So
I was close on that.
Yeah.
I definitely, for a few years, teetered on that route, and
Yeah.
was super depressed because of not skateboarding, and not only the skateboarding aspect of it, but just living, because I'm
Right.
a very self-sufficient person and a very active person. For those who know me, from the second I
Yeah.
wake up to the moment I pass out, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I can't sit still. Like it's in me to create or to, even if it's just cleaning the house or whatever it is, like I always have to be doing something. And so for that couple of years that like I was to do something hurt so bad, like definitely was like a damper on my entire life for sure.
absolutely. And yeah, just to hear that you're like getting up to a computer and that hurts. It's crazy because
Oh, this shit. Oh, come on. Come on.
yeah, perfect.
I'm like, what
This is what she thinks of this art. Yeah. She just took a shit right on the. Dude, I think that's the first. That's the first shit on the Bathroom Break podcast. Thank you, Maggie.
Somebody had to do it.
Come on, Maggie.
Coco.
Oh, was it? Damn.
Thank you.
Yeah, stanky dog.
I had a feeling it was coming too. I had a feeling.
I love it. Rick might throw up over there. Does it smell?
Dude, I thought the incense was getting too bad.
Does it smell?
Oh, it's bad.
Oh.
Bad. Oh my gosh. Bathroom
Dude, I love it. Damn, wait. So Coco took the shit, Maggie took the
Yeah.
piss. All right.
Oh my God. Didn't
so
you
good.
just say too that like someone needs to shit too or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Here we go. Bathroom break number 2. Literally number 2. Oh, it's a stanky one.
But anyway, yeah,
A lot of interruptions
Yeah.
here.
One more bathroom break.
Yeah.
We'll put a commercial right at that at that point. But yeah, man, I wanted to get into like the early years, like what kind of led you into skateboarding and hear about that a bit.
I was living in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was really into BMX bikes, and like I used to like trade BMX bikes parts and build them,
Hell
and
yeah.
like I was BMX was my thing, like I loved it.
Yeah.
And my bike ended up getting stolen, and these there was kids in the neighborhood that skated, and I ended up getting a board from one of the kids. I think it was my homie Jeremy, but it was so long ago I can't quite remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it started with me just riding my bike around the kids, and there would be like a launch. There was a launch ramp in the neighborhood, and they would launch the launch ramp. And then this was in the west side of Phoenix, Arizona, and it's a lot of the guys that built the West Side Skate Park out there.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so
And this is like in like early 80s, mid 80s or
yeah, like when was that? Probably like mid 80s or something. So
Yeah.
I'm 42 now, and I was
Okay.
like 10 years old when I started. So
Hell yeah.
whatever that math is.
yeah.
These guys are, calm down, little mutts.
Yeah,
But,
so like 87 probably. 'cause
Yeah,
like-
around
yeah.
that time. So I'm bad with math, but
Yeah.
yeah, I know I was around around 10 years old when I started, and yeah, 42 now.
Hell yeah.
So it was like. It was kind of the tail end of skateboarding's hype at that era.
Yeah, yeah.
And like right as I was getting into it, skateboarding was dying.
Like
And-
Bones Brigade era of yeah.
And there were some skate parks in Arizona, but these guys like in the neighborhood, there was a launch ramp they would skate, and then there was an empty pool, which pools were huge in Arizona because there was all these vacant houses with empty pools.
Hell yeah.
And everybody used to skate those, and so there was one right by my house, and I know I just keep staring at them, like there's like because they usually not allowed in here now. 'Cause
Yeah.
I call them Picassos.
Yeah.
They pee.
That's Maggie.
Picasso, yeah. She's Picasso. We got Picasso and Picasso. Perfect for the bathroom break. We might have to have some new mascots for you here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so like it was skateboarding was like in my neighborhood. It was like such a thing at that time, And I was like, oh, this is so cool, And from the first time even before I skated, the guys, the West Side guys used to tell me about it. I'd be walking home from school and they'd always skate these curbs by my house, and I would like, hey, let me try your board,
yeah.
and I would like go full speed and try to rail slide, and before I even knew how to do anything,
going for it.
They used to get mad because they'd be like, "Don't mess my graphic up."
Yeah.
Like they wanted.
Did they have the rails on it or
I
not?
think so. It was so long. I'm pretty sure they did at that time.
Yeah,
you
remember
know?
it was always like there was so much plastic on the.
The copers and everything. But so skating started. It was still kind of like at its heyday at that time, and then there was Tower Skate Park and Thrasherland in Arizona, and those were the two big skate parks. And then like my parents started bringing me there, and that's where like I really was like, okay, like I got exposed to like skaters that were really good skaters at that time.
Damn, so your parents were like supportive of it.
Yeah, my parents
That's
were
rad.
fully supportive of me
rad.
skateboarding. They've been fully supportive of me through any choices in my life. Like
That's
they were
so
just
good.
really like cool parents, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
they're pretty young when they had me. So I think
Yeah,
they still
that
like
helps, yeah.
related to, you know, youth and had its positives and negatives by all means. But they just fully supported my skateboarding from the
That's
get-go.
awesome. Yeah.
And you know, even to the point where like, you know, we were very poor family, you know, we were broke, and they saw how much I loved skateboarding, and they would always find a way to save up and get me a skateboard when I needed
yeah.
it. And so like, yeah, they just saw how much I loved it and always fully supported it. We actually, like my whole life story is like 20 documentaries kind of in like 20 different lives throughout the whole time. But my dad had moved to Arizona before we moved out there. My mom and dad broke up. My mom went to the East Coast and we were on the East Coast, and then things kind of were getting hectic out there. They eventually tried to work it back out, got back together. We got this house and it had a pool, and it was like this dream period of my life, you know, and slowly but surely things kind of went south from there, though. The pool turned green. Parents were kind of fighting, this and that. But then that kind of turned into a positive because we ended up draining the pool. And for like a year or so, we had this backyard pool, and everybody was able to skate it. And it brought like all these crazy skaters from all around Arizona, and Chris Livingston, and all the sponsored guys from the area came. Some of the daggers from Thrashing came from the movie. Like, it's like, this guy was one of the daggers in Thrashing, and you know, like, it was just a really cool time that like that was happening. The skate parks were going on. All this like, you know, skate energy was happening in Arizona, and I just fell in love with it. And then fast forward, all of a sudden it just kind of died, like 90s, like early 90s. It went from being like all these skaters all over the place to like me being like one of the only skaters and in my neighborhood. And in general, I remember I used to like skate for months with nobody around. And if you saw another skater, I was like, oh my gosh, like another skater, you know, and we'd be like instant homies. And so it was pretty like down time in skateboarding.
But your love for it never like faded at all?
Not at all. No way, you know, because I mean, for me, I never was skateboarding because I was like, oh, I'm going to be
trying to fit into whatever it is.
Or just thinking about, I'm going to be part of an industry or be pro. It was just something that I loved to do, you know, and so I just kept going with it. And then eventually my parents split up again, and my mom moved to Las Vegas. And then that eventually, I would go back and forth from Vegas and Phoenix. My dad stayed in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I met a group of skaters in Vegas that were sponsored. Paul Smith was like a really big, like influential skater at that time period for me. And then my parents just happened, my mom moved in the same apartment complex as those guys did.
Damn.
And I would be skating by myself in this parking lot, and I saw all these older skaters, you know, and they were like ripping and they were partying, and like had girls going in and out of the apartment. And I used to just sit on their curb, and like this curb across from the door, because it's like those apartments that you could just, you know, there were like lines of doors, and you could just, it was right by the parking lot. And I would just sit there and wait for them to come out, and they would come out, and I would just start trying to bust tricks and hoping that they noticed me, you know?
That's
and
awesome.
Eventually they were like, I ended up going in the house, and then like pretty much ended up like moving in with them, and like they took me under their wing and became like my best friends, and gave me my first boards from G&S, and that kind of was the spark of my career with my homies Paul Morris and Lonnie and Anthony and Paul Smith and like this whole crew we had out there. It was like such a rad scene.
GNS, you said that was your
Yeah.
I had a GNS board or something when I was young like that.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and then I don't remember like what happened to it later. Like
GNS turned into and they lost the Gordon and Smith, and it was just the and sign for a small little time period, and I was riding for that, and then that turned into Maple Skateboards, which was my first kind of real sponsor, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, that's rad. And I was thinking, like, as you're talking, it's just crazy, like, and I don't know how much you believe in it, but I'm sure you feel it too. But like, just how the universe conspires to like make that happen. Like, just the fact that all of a sudden the pool is empty in your backyard and you're getting a chance to skate there, and then your mom happens to move in next to these other skaters. Like, it's just so cool how that kind of lines up. Like, you're already putting that energy in that direction and doing that, and then it lines up. So
you question yourself, is it coincidence or fate? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or, you know, it's like you kind of, I've always thought, I mean, my whole series of life events have been like pretty miraculous in a lot of ways, to where I'm like, wow, this is like too crazy.
It's supposed to be that way. Yeah. Damn, that's amazing. So, okay. And then when you got your first sponsor, like with Maple, so was it like you're just getting flow, or was it like
back then it was just, you know, I got some free skateboards, and that was like a life-changing situation for me alone, you know, just to get those free skateboards was such a big deal for me, and that was kind of the start to it. And then they were gonna bring me out to California, and I was so hyped. And then I was skating this like skate park in Vegas, like this. It was called Rock Solid, I think it was Rock Solid. We called it Crack Rock Solid. And it was like pretty. It was like a youth group kind of YMCA type center that had this like skate park and like after school like
this
activities.
Is in San Diego,
in Vegas.
or
This is in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I was gonna go to California, and then like the day before, a couple days before, I was skating the park, and then I broke my ankle really, really bad.
Damn.
And I had to get like a metal plate and pins and all that stuff in it, and so that kind of like had my momentum going, and it kind of just put the brakes on it, and then that took me out for a while, where I had to get the operation, let it heal, and then the sponsor was kind of like, hit us up when you're ripping again, you know, because I wasn't far enough along in order for them to be like, you know, support me through it or help in any way or anything. And I wasn't making any money at skating at that time. It was just free boards, you know? Yeah. And eventually, I was just walking around on a cane. It was like a long recovery for me on that one. And,
I was wondering, not to cut you off, but I was wondering, like, when that happened and you get like a plate in your ankle, and like, does it change your skateboarding to a point where like the feel of the board and everything that's
totally
happening?
Did. Like, I used to be good at switch stance skateboarding, everybody.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was really hard for that ankle to flick in that certain way. So it scared the shit out of me. It slowed my skating down. For a long time, for like a good almost year, I was like really. Damn. I mean, I didn't jump on a board for at least probably 7 months, and then I was like very slow after that. And I'd gotten into some trouble in Vegas for graffiti, and went through some of these like 3 different times. I got popped, and I had all this like juvenile service and fines and all this stuff, and or not what do they call it? What do they call it? Service, community service. Yeah. I was supposed to do all that stuff, and then I was like, you know what, this sucks. And I was living in a trailer park out in the outskirts of Vegas, and I knew these girls that were going to California, and I was just like, I'm getting a ride, like, get me the hell out of here. Damn. And they drove me to Mission Beach and dropped me off on the beach there, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna go for it, you know. But I couldn't skate to my ability at that point, but I was like, I knew that that's where it was gonna be at, and I even said to myself at that point, I'd rather go there and work a job at McDonald's and figure something else out if I had to, than stay and live in this trailer park in Vegas. And
so someone was just calling you there, like just the skate scene was happening there, or you're saying something was like calling you to Mission Beach, like within yourself?
I knew one person that lived there. This guy came.
But I mean, like, it was just like a feeling, like, I gotta get there.
Calling. It was like these cards that I'm dealt, I'm not gonna accept them. I'm gonna go off and find something new. And
Yeah.
no matter what that new is, even if it's just as bad, I didn't care because I had to give something a shot at that time.
Yeah.
So that's my choice, was to go to California, because Southern California at that time, that was the mecca of skateboarding.
Yeah.
That's San Diego, especially at that time. Skateboarding kind of always moves geographically into different locations. And at that time, San Diego was popping, and there were so many pros there. And Pacific Drive Skate Shop was like the cool shop where everybody hung out at. But my homie worked at this other skate shop, Hamill's, my friend Mikey. And like, he told me, oh, if you ever come to California, hit me up. I had met him like one time, you know, and I showed up and I was like, what's up? And he's like, I'm working, bro. And I'm like, all right, like I'll be on the beach, you know? And then there was this group of kids, like kind of like street graffiti kids, that squatters and just like skaters, punkers, that just, and graffiti writers that took me in, because I had been similar interests in all them. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm here. And they're like, come on, kick it with us. And so I met all of them and just kind of like formed a little group of friends there. And so that was like the start. And then like every day on the beach, we just skated all day long and had no worries. And I had no house. I had no car.
Yeah, where were you living? Like,
I would stay with random people, or I'd sleep on the
couch
beach.
surfing and
Yeah,
damn.
or there's like, we sleep on the beach out there. There's just, when you had to do it, you had to do it. It wasn't that bad.
That's it's so awesome though, that like, just because when you hear it, like, all right, if I'm a young kid listening to this, like, I think, damn, it's CHADMUSKA, like, like you just had so much success and all this other stuff. You don't really think about the fact, like, this person took this crazy risk of like not having a house, not having anywhere to stay, staying on a beach. And like having that calling to go skate there and do that, like, I don't know, that's pretty incredible, man.
It was definitely, and it wasn't like an overnight thing, like, just there was some rough nights and it happened. It was like, a good 2-3 years of like, I don't know if this is ever gonna happen, and having moments of being starving, not sitting there on the beach with like nothing. It's like, I gotta get home, like thinking that many times, but I just knew that like, there's nothing for me to go back to, know. My family was always there and ready for me. Like the door was always open by all means, but my soul wouldn't have been happy to go back to that. I didn't want to give up, you know what I mean? And so I stayed and roughed it out, and my ankle started getting better. I started skating more. There was a lot of pros showing up in the scene around there. And then it's kind of started flowing, and one thing led to another, and it happened, and it's there's such a long story within that whole part of it, too. But it just I connected with Jamie Thomas, was one of the first guys that like really gave me a shot and started introducing me to all the photographers, and got me in the loop. Kind of, he saw something in me. And that's kind of was really the start of it. And then after it started, it kind of happened really quick then. Like, it was a long point to get to the start, but then once the start happened, it was like, wow. Like, I pretty much, after a couple months skating with Jamie, I jumped in a van and we were doing a tour across America for Toy Machine. And skating with, the top pros, Foundation and Toy Machine together, did a tour. And all of a sudden I was in this van with all the people that I had looked up to, with Ed Templeton and Jamie Thomas and Heath Kirchard and Josh Beagle and a whole bunch of other guys. That was like, it was crazy.
So that was kind of the moment where you were like, damn, it's starting to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew, I was like, okay, like I'm actually like on a real team, and we're doing demos, and they're paying for my food. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get like, they're gonna, that like, looking back on it, it was the ghettoest of tours. We were like staying in the sketchiest hotels and got like $5 a day per diem or whatever, $10 or whatever it was. But I was I'm like royalty right now, I got my own hotel bed, and free meal each day. And I'm driving to these skate spots, and there's a photographer and a filmer with me. Like, my dream had come true. If it all ended after that tour, I would have been satisfied at that point.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But we went on this like probably like a 3-month long tour. Like we were just in this van going and going and going. I think the tour, like certain people came in and out of the tour, but I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I didn't have I didn't have a home to go home to. So that was like more home than anything else I had. So, yeah, we just went on it, and we did all these demos, and I skated my ass off at every demo, and I would go out of my way to connect with the locals at every scene because I loved partying when I was a kid. I was very social, and that's what me and my homies did, you know. And so I was like, this was a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to be in Alabama or wherever.
Yeah.
You know,
Hell yeah.
It was so cool to me at that time because I'd never been to these places, and I was like, I'm here, you know, like let's do this, like, you know, what's up? Connect with the locals. Like, what do you guys do? Like, is there graffiti we can do around here? Is there a party? Is there like, you know, where do we street spots? And so I connected with all these people throughout all this tour, and then by the time I got back to California, something had started to happen at that point where I was like, kids were coming up to me and being like, you know, we know who you are. And I was like, whoa, like this is crazy.
So had you gotten like photos in magazines at that point?
So things started to come out. Yeah, things started to come out, and somehow, I mean, there was no internet or anything like that, you know, and social media didn't exist, but somehow things started to happen at that point. And I remember I was in Huntington Beach, and I like went up to the skate park, and I looked, and I was like, whoa, that dude has like the same, like my same kit on, like this, what I'm wearing, this guy's like wearing it. And he was like checking me out, and he was like, yo, like, can I get your autograph or something? And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I was like, I think he like saw my style and copied it. Like, you know, and I never thought of that or anything, you know. It was like really tripped me. It was like crazy moment for me, you know, and that's kind of like, then from that moment, it really snowballed, and kind of like, the momentum of my career started to pick up, and everything kind of happened from that moment on. Yeah,
no, that's so rad. And so then, like, I guess if you fast forward a little bit, but then like Tony Hawk Pro Skater stuff like starts happening, and you get on that. Is that just like take it to another, like, as far as like, I don't know what you want to call it, notoriety, we'll say, instead of the celebrity thing, because but you are, but like, did the notoriety kind of take to another level once like Tony?
I think that not only for myself but for skateboarding in general, that the Tony Hawk video game introduced skateboarding into the household.
Everybody. Yeah,
you know, and so people that had seen it and known about it didn't really care about it. Now all of a sudden thought it was cool because maybe they couldn't ride the skateboard, but they could play this video game now and interact with skateboarding. Yeah. So that video game, hands down, did so much for skateboarding in general. And I think that like it spawned a whole generation of kids inspired them to skate. Hell yeah. That may have never skated had they not played that video game, you know? So definitely. And along with that, it took all the riders that were in that video game and put them into household names. I think at that point, you know, Tony Hawk is obviously the ultimate name in skateboarding. If you say his name is synonymous with skateboarding, pretty much. If you say skateboarding, they're like, oh, Tony Hawk. You know? Right. And so he had that since the 80s, pretty much, you know, like, but he really did a lot for us for doing that game, and that totally sparked a lot. In my life, for sure. Yeah, that's incredible. Because when you say Tony, like, because Tony Hawk and Steve Caballero and Lance Mountain and all the dudes from McGill and all from Bones Brigade, they came to our little town, Westchester, Pennsylvania, and did this little like skate demo in the 80s. And I grew up with Bam Margera and Mike Maldonado and Kerry Getz. We met like as I was like in my teenage years, but we were super young. Like Bam and I were like 7 or 8 at that point when Tony came through with everybody. And like I just remember like I always had a Steve Caballero, like that was always the board I loved. But they got there and they're signing autographs and doing this, and this was in the 80s and you know, and it was cool then. But then as the 90s happened, like obviously Bam was just way more advanced than myself or other friends, anybody. Like I wasn't a good skateboarder, but I loved it, you know. And so it was just crazy. Like
in the 90s though, like parents were like, you better not do that, you're a punk, like you can't. And it was like, it was looked down upon.
Yeah,
and like
totally.
when you said like you had the support from your parents, like my mom was, but my dad was like, you can't wear those outfits and you can't do this, like, and like, I mean, my dad didn't live with us, but at the same time, like it was like, don't do this, and like, and then like you were saying,
I received that from like school and society.
Yeah.
Although my parents supported it, it was very looked down upon socially.
Absolutely.
I wanted to do good in high school and in junior high.
Yeah.
But like the teachers treated me like I was a bad kid because I
You're a
had baggy
punk.
pants
Like, yeah.
and green hair or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but I wanted to do good at school.
like
but
smart dude, like
yeah,
it doesn't mean I can't do well. Like
they literally like made me a social outcast because of it, you know, and
Yeah.
but yeah,
But then, like I was saying, because when you mentioned like Tony Hawk, because it kind of did that, it made it a household thing, and it made it like, oh, like parents finally like, oh, maybe this skateboard thing's not so bad after all.
That and then mixing with the X Games happening, and it's because the normal world likes to see something televised. If they see it on television, then it's acceptable. You know what I mean? You're like, oh,
now you're doing something.
Or if there's you can financially benefit from it. If you're like they hear stories of, oh, Tony Hawk's making millions of dollars and he's a skateboarder, parents are gonna, okay. Skateboarding's good, you know, and it's sad, but that's the way the world is. You know what I mean? That's all part of it.
I mean, I noticed it with my pops as well. Like I threw shit on the lockers in high school and got kicked out of school, and like
I can't believe you.
And then I went to a boarding school, and I was like, I was a little fuck, and then when Jackass and like CKY Jackass, Viva La Bam, all that stuff's happening, he's like, oh, it's pretty cool. Like, where were you back then, dude? Not supporting it then. But it was funny because I threw shit on the lockers, and then all these years later we were shooting for one of the first Jackass episodes, and I was sitting at this stop sign taking a shit like right in the middle of the street, and the dude that kicked me out of school happened to drive up with his wife, like in the car. One of the dudes from the school board drives up, and like Bam was filming it, and then I shit on the thing, and then we get back and we look and we're like, dude, that's Mr. Zimbato, like, fuck, and then he was like, what? And then you saw his wife's face, like, wow, like looking at my ass as I'm shitting. But it was just, it was a good feeling because it was, if I could relate to the skateboarding of being this punk, and then once it worked out, like, it's all good now, but no, it's funny.
Kids, don't be scared to throw shit in your locker. No, don't do it. Doesn't happen. Success doesn't happen for everybody that way.
I stepped in shit with getting involved with Jackass and all that too. But no, man, it is cool, and then to see like, that the video game did that much, and then Bam was in one of them as well, and that. Kind of was crazy. I was thinking about Maldonado because he was on Toy Machine.
He was with us on a lot of the tours. Like, he was a little bit later, I think, than when I first got on. But not too much later. Not like, like back then a small time period felt like it was so long. You know what I mean? Like 6 months felt like 5 years nowadays. You know what I mean?
Like when you mentioned you were out for 7 months, I'm like, that probably felt like an eternity.
Oh yeah, for sure. Completely. And times have changed so much. But Maldonado was and Bam, was rolling with us, and because he was on Toy Machine too. Right? Yeah. I don't think when I was on, I can't remember exactly, but
I think
right
after,
when I got off, he got on.
Because he was like in the beginning, like remember H Street like turned into like Evil or whatever, like Love Backwards. He was like getting flow from them at that point. And then that's when like Templeton and Deanna came out. And we're like staying like either nearby or at BAM's or whatever. And I just remember being over there and meeting them when we were young. I mean, we were 15, 16 or something maybe. I mean, he knew them more, but that was like when I met him, and that was at about the point when they were starting to bring him into.
I met him when he was pretty young too. He came in like me and Tom Penny. Had an apartment together with our homie Angel, and my first apartment I got, that was like my official apartment, and had my own, me and Tom shared a room, but I had my own bed. That was like my first come up. But Bam came out there at that time and stayed with us a few times, and we're always like, he was like just a funny little ripper, like same little guy, but like just like we're like, damn, this guy rips, he was such a rad skater. And so we got to connect with him, and I think it was Maldonado had brought him over or something, I can't remember, but and Donnie Barley too. Yeah.
Yeah, because Maldonado, we used to always go over to his he would stay with his grandma, and we'd go over, and he was getting like his, I think he was gonna get the first like pro model of from Toy Machine or whatever,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, Rap, I'm gonna give you one of these." I was like, "Well," like it was like he like gave me one of the boards, and that was so cool. But we always laugh because his grandma would be like, "Michael, what are you doing, Michael?" Like we would always say that. But man, dude, I love that dude too, because he was super inspiring, and like I said, I could barely skateboard, but I loved being around the culture, and he was super like encouraging. Like I would be trying to kickflip like 3 or 4 steps, and he'd be like, "Fuck yeah, dude, do it," you know. And that was
Mike's such a solid guy, man.
Yeah.
Like such a like
hell yeah,
just just a real person, and it has your back.
Yeah.
Like, all right, like we got it, like whatever it is, like I like.
And I saw him not that long ago, and like he's just in great shape, and he came up and he fucking like ollied over this big ass thing, and I was like, damn, he's still like, because that like the pop that he had at that point was like, I remember when he ollied the fountain at Love Park was like crazy, I think when that was first happening, and it was like, god damn, because that dude he could just ollie crazy, but yeah, man, that's really cool, and to shift gears a little bit, I was thinking about mid '90s, like because you had like a little spot in that movie, and that kind of like was like, I thought it was a really cool look at skateboarding, like, and I related to it a lot.
I wouldn't even want to say like, I think I had my name was longer in the credits than my part in the movie.
But hey, whatever.
No, I think Jonah was just trying to show love to the people that like he felt were part of that generation that that he was representing there, and that was cool just to go and be a part of that, and watching that film was cool, man. I think it was like, told a great story. I mean, it's a really difficult story to tell, like any type of documentary type, or what do they call the real? Is it a mockumentary? Not a mockumentary, but
like almost like biopics.
Yeah, the biopic. Yeah. Hey, don't be jumping on me, woman. You chill out. You chill out. What you doing? You already took a shit in here, mama. No more bathroom breaks. Be good, Coco. This is the boss lady Coco. But yeah, no, it was a cool project, and watching it brought back like so many great memories. Like it definitely gave you the feeling of being in that time period, and just kind of captured a moment in time of what skateboarding was like, and it was cool to be a part of that, and to see that like somebody like Jonah would see something that was special during that time period, and decide to make a feature film out of it. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, so it was so cool, and it's awesome to hear it from perspective of like of a legendary ripper. So it's like, for me, like it was fun to watch, because when you think back to like the police academies, remember like Tony Hawk and those guys are all in it, and and it's like David Spade getting on the board, and he's getting on it regular, and then Tony Hawk gets on like goofy, and you're like, it's obviously not that, so it was always so like kind of poorly portrayed of skateboarding, or you just see the cut, and it's like that dude was riding regular, and now the stunt dude's clearly riding the other way, and it just never really looked, and so it was kind of cool to see like real skateboarding, because it was the main kid is his name Sonny or something, Sonny, and he like rips, right?
He's really good, and what's funny, he had to play a bad skater, because I didn't know he could actually skate, because I just met him at the premiere and whatnot, or at the filming for it, then later at the premiere and stuff, and he's just such a rad cool little kid, you know what I mean? And then I saw him, then I followed him on Instagram, and I was like, oh man, Sonny rips,
because I went and checked it out after I saw it. I was like, oh, this dude is crushing. Like, he did a great job of making it seem like he was like just learning, because the one part in the movie for me that was so rad was like when he lands that trick in the driveway. Like, I feel like everybody's had that moment where you're by yourself, you're just trying, like I remember trying to kickflip so many times in the garage, and no one's around, then you land it and you're like, yes. It's that cool feeling.
Definitely the whole like audience, when I watched it like at one of the previews, the whole audience just busted into cheer like at that moment, because everybody there had skated and had that feeling before. So it's skateboarding to have that a sense of accomplishment is like such a good feeling. For
Yeah,
sure.
and that's cool. And earlier you were mentioning like how much music has to do with skateboarding, and like it made me think about like how whenever I would like see a new video or like see Maldonado or Bam putting their parts together, like they would put like such awesome songs to it, and then that kind of introduced me to all this different music that I probably would have never heard
Yeah.
or whatever, and like so it made me think about like how is that sort of like what led to your interest of like producing music, and like you were like, man, like I want to produce something for a skate park, or was it just kind of you had already been doing that?
Music had already been a heavily major part of my life, like through before I was ever sponsored, and later getting into graffiti, DJing, hip hop culture in general, break dancing. Like I was really into all those things. And so I think the natural progression was only to try to produce music as well too. But leading to production, I guess, really did come from the need to want to make my own song for a video. Was probably the ultimate, and got some money from skateboarding as well too, which allowed me to get the gear that I needed to do to produce. It's like we didn't have a laptop with just all the programs in there back then. You had to go and buy a SP1200 or MPC 2000 or some sort of beat production machine, and all that takes money and turntables and everything. And so as I was able to make some money off skateboarding, it allowed me to get some of that equipment and experiment more in things that I'd always dreamed about wanting to do.
Yeah, hell yeah. And are you still like producing music?
Not as much as I once did, but yes, I still do. Mainly now more so for social media because of the licensing issues and being able to like produce license-free content in-house 100% myself. I'm very interested in being able to film things, edit videos, make the music, produce something completely self-sufficient and not have to like rely on anybody to do these projects except Rick Kosick.
You got to rely on Rick.
There's only so much you could do by yourself. You know what I mean? Every once in a while you got to call in the big guns over here,
hell yeah.
It makes me look good.
Yeah, dude. But, and it's got to be cool too, because I mean we're sitting here and there's just so much.
And Benji.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Benji. He's behind me over here, but I didn't forget about you, homie.
He's the sharpshooter, caught the poop.
But nothing gets by this guy, especially when it comes to poop.
Hell yeah. No, but I was thinking like because of like we're sitting here surrounded by a bunch of your awesome artwork too, and music, and like just like myself, I'm starting to try to get into some painting and things like that, because I've looked for things that like you can kind of do on your own. Like I feel like a skateboard, like you could always get on your skateboard by yourself and go. You don't have to like wait for somebody else to help do the production of something. And so like, can you find that in music? Like, cause you're producing beats and you're doing that. Can you find that like, just you can do that drive without having to rely, and similar with art, like,
I guess all the things I'm drawn to are things that I do on my own. I think everywhere I go, there I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've at the end of any skate demo, at the end of any art show, at the end of any relationship, I'm always here with myself still.
Yeah.
And I've been that way a long time in my life. And so, and making these things happen in my youth, I had nobody else to do it but myself. So I've always gravitated towards things that you're able to do on your own. And that's art, skateboarding, music, all these different things are, you don't need anybody else to do it. But what's cool is that the final outcome with these things could then bring people together,
Absolutely.
This activity that you can do on your own. Once the hard work and efforts put into it, then you can make this song that all the world can listen to, or you perfect a skateboard trick that can like inspire other people, or finish this design that people want to wear, or whatever that outcome is, ultimately is a tool to interact and connect with people, which is even cooler, I think, in a way too.
Yeah. Hell yeah, because when you're saying that, like I went to one of your art shows with Kosick over here, and that was cool because it was packed, like just people in there just loving what you're doing. And I was, and like, I'll admit it, I was that guy that's taking photos of it and then using it as a backdrop. I'm like, but people hate when you take the photos. But I was like thinking, because you had some,
I don't mind.
stuff that
I
was
don't care
so
at all.
dope.
Like, I think it's cool because, like, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, and I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, is like somebody gonna copy my artwork or something like that? It's like I think everything's there for everybody to experiment and try. Like, and if like, even if you're a painter, you're going to study under the classic painters and learn techniques and try to paint in a specific style that's would be referenced to a name. It's like, if you're doing that, you learn, and by that process of learning that, then you'll eventually find your own expression.
Absolutely.
Coco, what do you want now? Come here. You want to come up here? Come on, Mama. Can you jump still? Come on. You want to show off? Even Maggie's not doing. Can you go inside? You gonna get some treats later, okay? You already shitting here. You ain't gonna shit no more. You ain't gonna shit, little shitty. Come on, Picasso. Come on.
Picasso.
Come on, Picasso.
Man, Picasso is knocked out over
Picasso's
there.
done. Oh, shit, she's she's over there.
She's kicking it.
Be good.
No, I was noticing like you have a Supra hat on. So are you still doing
Very actively working with Supra.
Yeah, that's rad.
I've been part of it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And had a couple years where I went off and worked on some other projects, but it was still a part of the company.
Yeah.
But came in a lot more heavily about 8 months ago or so.
Hell yeah.
And just working very closely with them and design, help kind of like talk about with the team stuff and just kind of like
nice.
I'll try to get my hands on as much parts of the company as possible through the marketing and design and sort of just everything with it. Been going on tour with them a bit and recently jumped really heavily back into the skateboarding scene after it kind of had my back take me away from that for a while too. And not only had I started riding my board again, but then really becoming active within the skateboarding community and going on these tours and skating some demos. Somehow I'm still skating some demos here and there.
Yeah. Definitely
not like what I once used to, but it's really re-energizing to like connect with that love of mine of skateboarding and to see that the kids are still hyped and all that stuff. It's like it's such a positive aspect of my life and then been doing like more of like kind of like jumping on the mic and doing these hosting gigs and being the hype man of the events and stuff. And I really enjoy that too, because my love for skateboarding is so true. And even if I couldn't do it from here on out, I would still retain that love for it, you know, and to go and be there and share that hype and get the kids, like, 'cause like some of the kids that are now pros have looked up to me when I was a kid, when they were kids, and now they're the best of the best. And then when I go and connect with them and they get hyped and do tricks, it's like I almost live vicariously through them and able to like, you know, like okay, maybe I can't do that rail anymore, but if I'm hyping them up, like you got next one, and they landed, I'm like, yes, it feels like I landed it too.
Yeah, dude, that's so rad, man.
Yeah, it's a great thing, you know. Skateboarding is such a positive thing for kids, and you know, and I always knew that as a kid, even when it was looked down upon, and to have this mental, physical outlet for the youth nowadays is even more important than ever.
Absolutely.
To get them out of the house, to get them interacting with each other off their phones, physical, mental challenge. It's like such a great thing. And I can go on and on and on about the positive aspects of skateboarding, of what it does for this world, and like how many barriers that it breaks, from ethnicities to financial backgrounds to all these different things. Brings these people together, you know, and such a cool community that I'm so happy to be a part of.
Hell yeah, man, dude. I appreciate you coming and sitting with me on the Bathroom Break podcast and just sharing everything, man. It's inspiring just to sit with you, and just everything that you do continues to inspire me, and I'm sure tons of people, you know, I know for a fact tons of people are inspired by you. And it's awesome, dude.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for dealing with my crazy dogs and all the chaos of the place
I want to
here.
thank Coco for taking a dump on the Bathroom Break podcast.
Yeah.
And I can't forget about
Maggie.
Picasso,
Yeah,
Maggie
Picasso.
over there.
Yeah, Picasso and Picasso. Yeah. So it
So good.
actually worked out to our advantage, I think, in the long run.
Hell
But,
yeah.